Alright chaps, we are heading into a busy weekend of Championship football. We've got a full fixture list coming up on Friday, a full fixture list to look forward to on Monday as well. In today's video we will be previewing all the games coming up on Good Friday, and then we'll be back over the weekend to preview all of the Easter Monday fixtures. As always, want to hear your score predictions in the comments down below. Plenty to play for at both ends of the table. Without any further ado, let's jump in. And we are starting out with an absolutely massive early kickoff at Pride Park for Derby up against Luton, and the permutations around this game are absolutely massive. If Luton do manage to get a win, they'll go level on points with Derby, but if Derby pick up all 3 points, they'll really put a decent amount of breathing space between themselves and especially Luton for the time being. Now, last weekend it felt like Luton's loss at home against Blackburn really was a damning one in terms of their overall survival hopes, and I go as far to say that this game feels like a bit of a must-win for Luton, to be honest with you. I don't feel like a draw's enough here. When you get those opportunities to have those head-to-head matches against the teams that are around you, and you're the team that's playing catch-up, you've got to take advantage. But Derby are no mugs, especially at home. They're unbeaten in their last 4 home matches, and the thing that's really counted against Luton, even when they have put a solid run together of late, it's just their lack of firepower in the final third. They are now the outright lowest scorers in the Championship. They've only scored 37 goals all season. And while Derby definitely had a period themselves where they were failing to hit the back of the net, you know, under Paul Warne towards the end of his time especially, they've been pretty decent in front of goal recently. They've scored 11 goals in their last 7 league matches, Derby. A draw wouldn't massively surprise me here, but on the balance of probabilities, I am fancying a narrow Derby 1-0 home victory, which could really put the nail in Luton's coffin. After that, we go to the first of the Friday 3 PM kickoffs, and we've got Blackburn going up against Millwall. Valérien Ismaël finally getting that first win as Rovers boss last time out away at Luton. Are they going to make it back-to-back wins here, though? I'm not so sure, because Millwall have really been in the mood recently. Amazing, 4 of their last 5 games have ended up being 1-0ers, 3 of them going for Millwall and 1 of them going against. The last 2 results especially have really propelled them into the playoff picture, and I wouldn't be willing to back against them in this sort of match either. One thing that I do think is worth pointing out as well is that throughout his entire managerial career, Alex Neil has always boasted a really good record against Blackburn especially. He's managed 10 games against Blackburn in total, and he's managed to win 7 of them. Friday could throw out a few curveballs, and Blackburn could take a bit of momentum from that result against Luton last time out, but the way Millwall have been going recently, I'm fancying them for another 1-0, you know. Score prediction there, I'm going to go 1-0 Millwall on the road, which could be a hugely decisive result, especially with both Bristol City and Coventry having pretty tough fixtures coming up on Friday. And speaking of Bristol City, they're in action against Sunderland on Friday, and if the table was to end as it is now, this would be a playoff semi-final come the end of the season. So quite interesting that we've got these two facing off against each other this late into the campaign. Sunderland definitely in a bit of a unique situation right now. We've said it for a few weeks where we know they're going to be playing in the playoffs regardless of what happens in these final few matches, and for that reason it's difficult to judge which version of Sunderland is going to show up week to week. Recently they've not really been conceding that many goals, but on the flip side, and what's becoming increasingly concerning, is they're really not scoring a lot of goals at the moment. In their last 6 consecutive Championship matches, they failed to score more than 1 goal, which, yeah, is a bit of a problem going into the playoffs, especially when you're going to a place away like Ashton Gate, where Bristol City have been so strong all season. They had to settle for a point last time out against QPR, but in all the circumstances, I don't think that's the worst point in the world for Bristol City. This game, I think, does have quite a high significance for them though, because after this matchup, Bristol City have got back-to-back away matches, away at Luton, who are going to be scrapping for their lives, and then away at Leeds, who would probably fancy themselves to win any game at Ellen Road. So there is a chance that Bristol City could drop points in their next 2 away matches, and I think that puts even more emphasis on this game, as they'll want to build up that bit of a cushion going into those 2 tough away games. So for that reason, I am going to fancy a Bristol City win in this one. I'm going to go 2-1 Bristol City and just back them to have that little bit more firepower on the day. After that, we've got another massive matchup around the top 6. It's Coventry going up against West Brom. The fact that Coventry could only draw against Hull on Monday night makes this game even more interesting, because if West Brom do manage to pull off a win, they will leapfrog Coventry in the league table. They do have a superior goal difference to Cov at this points. So all to play for right now. The win over the weekend for West Brom against Watford was absolutely vital. What's been their Achilles heel all season, though, has been their away record, and they're going to need to pull something out of the bag in this game if they want to finish in the top 6. I don't think they can afford to lose this one. To put into context how sporadic that West Brom away record has been, they've not won away from home in the Championship since the 10th of November, and amazingly, and I can't believe this is a stat, but West Brom haven't won back-to-back games in the Championship since September, which seems absolutely bonkers. How can that possibly be true? But on the flip side of that, Coventry haven't quite been firing on all cylinders since returning from the March international break, and it's worth pointing out as well that the recent head-to-head meeting record between these two sides definitely skews in favour of West Brom. Coventry have only won one of their last 7 head-to-head games with the Baggies. I'm just not really sure that I could see West Brom winning away from home because they've rarely done it this season, but a draw would not surprise me. Score prediction there, I'm going to go for a 1-1, which would set up an interesting Easter Monday for both of those clubs. Next up we go to Middlesbrough up against Plymouth Argyle, a big game at both ends of the table. Now Middlesbrough losing their last 2 games hasn't put them in a great position to attack these final 4 games in terms of getting into the top 6, but all hope is not lost yet. I think Middlesbrough's next 3 fixtures on paper are all pretty winnable. They got this one against Plymouth. After that on Monday, they travel to Hillsborough to play Sheffield Wednesday. Wednesday haven't been great in home matches this season. And then after that, they're at home against Norwich, which you probably fancy Borough in as well. So they probably do need a run right now, Middlesbrough, where they do take full advantage of those next 3 matches. And then the final day of the season could be set up really interestingly when they face Coventry. For Plymouth, it was an unbelievable effort last time out as they pulled off one of the upsets of the season to beat Sheffield United, but there's still no getting away from just how poor their away record's been this season. You know, a few days prior to that unbelievable result against Sheffield United, let's not forget this was a Plymouth side who were beaten 3-0 away at Swansea. So far this season, Plymouth are by far the lowest scorers of any Championship club when it comes to away matches. They've only scored 8 goals in 21 away games this season, and with how many chances I fancy Borough to have in this one, how much of the ball they're probably going to see, I know they can be wasteful at times, but I do fancy them for a few goals in this one, if I'm being honest. Score prediction, I'm going to go 3-1 Middlesbrough, which could get their playoff hopes back alive. After that, we go to Carrow Road for Norwich up against Portsmouth. Norwich, one of the clubs that don't really have anything to play for in these final 4 matches. That could count for you, it could count against you, whether the team plays without having that pressure on their shoulders or they are fully on the beach. We'll see over these next few matches. Now, Portsmouth currently stand 4 points above the bottom 3, so they've got a reasonable cushion of points at the moment, but that could be completely wiped out over this Easter weekend if they lose their last couple of matches. Obviously, it was a draw for Pompey last time out against Derby. What's counted against Portsmouth in recent weeks, and probably all season to be honest with you, has been their away record. They have lost their last 4 games on the bounce, and for as inconsistent as Norwich have been all season, they have tended to have a decent track record against the sides in and around the bottom of the table when they've played them at Carrow Road this season. For example, they've put 4 goals past Hull earlier in the season. They put 4 goals past Luton. They put 6 goals past Plymouth when they played them at home. They put 4 goals past Stoke when they played them at home. Norwich can make Carrow Road a really difficult environment to come to when you are one of those teams in and around the bottom of the table and you are likely to face a lot of shots. For that reason, I think we could get a few goals in this game. I think Pompey will fancy their chances of hurting this Norwich side, especially on the counter-attack. But I'm not sure Portsmouth are going to completely get out of that relegation scrap on Friday. Score prediction, I'm going to go 3-2 Norwich and fancy a few goals in that game. After that, we head to Deepdale for Preston up against QPR. QPR have picked up maybe a little bit of form in recent weeks with that win away at Oxford and then that draw against Bristol City, but generally speaking over the last couple of months, neither North End or QPR have been firing on all cylinders. And I'm not going to lie, this game absolutely reeks of a draw, doesn't it? For Preston in the league, it's only 1 win from our last 11, coming off the back of a tough away game last time out against Leeds. For QPR, it's only 1 win in their last 9 matches. We're sat next to each other in the table right now, and the draw probably wouldn't be the worst result in the world for either side. It would knock Preston up to that 50-point threshold. QPR would go to 51. And it's also worth pointing out as well that 5 of the last 6 games that have taken place at Deepdale in the Championship have all ended as draws. So I'm going to bite the bullet for this one, 1-1 draw. Next up we go to Stoke up against Sheffield Wednesday. This is an interesting matchup really. Stoke got an absolutely massive result over the line last time out. Scoring late against Cardiff does give them that buffer between themselves and the relegation zone, but still quite a bit of importance on this game, I'd stress. Stoke won't want to leave themselves in a situation where they're desperate for a result, especially in their next two games, considering they're up against Leeds and Sheffield United. For this game, they're taking on the Sheffield Wednesday side, who don't really have anything to play for at this stage of the season. It is worth taking into consideration that Wednesday, throughout this season so far, have tended to perform a lot better away from home than they have at home. Obviously, last time out it was a disappointing 1-0 defeat for Wednesday at home against Oxford. I at least think Wednesday will get on the score sheet for this one, but Stoke haven't tended to give that much away in their home games of late. Since Mark Robins came in as the Stoke boss on, I think, the 1st of January, Stoke have only lost one of their last 8 home league matches, and for that reason, I think I am going to edge them for a victory in this one. Score prediction there, I'm going to go 2-1 Stoke, which should get them over the line probably to safety. After that, we go to Swansea up against Hull City. Now, in terms of the league table, having something to play for, Swansea probably don't right now. I think they've left a potential charge for the top 6 too late. But despite that, I'm not sure they're a team you want to be playing right now. It's 3 consecutive wins for Swansea. Really impressive result last time out away at Sunderland. It's now 3 consecutive clean sheets in the Championship as well. And Alan Sheehan probably wants to do as good of a job as possible in these final few matches to sort of strengthen his hand of potentially becoming the next permanent boss going into next season. Hull have obviously still got it all to play for. A point against Coventry last time out cannot be sniffed at, and Hull, under Ruben Sellers, have usually been decent value for money for a result on the road as well. But the way Swansea have been knocking down sides, feels like they're playing with a bit of freedom right now. I think Hull are going to go into the last 3 matches of the season still needing a few results, and that's because I am fancying a Swansea result here, I think. Score prediction, I'm going to go 2-0 Swansea. Hull could very much pull off something there, but going off the form book right now, I think I've got to be back in Swansea at home. After that, we go to Vicarage Road for Watford up against Burnley. For Watford, it's only 1 win in their last 5, and Burnley have a bit of an advantage on Friday by the fact that they're playing before both Sheffield United and Leeds play, so they've got a real opportunity here to pile the pressure on those two sides if they pick up all 3 points. Earlier in the season, Burnley did win the reverse fixture at Turf Moor 2-1. I think they are the obvious favourites here. I still think there could maybe be a twist to come in the promotion saga. Obviously, on Monday we've got a massive game to look forward to when Burnley host Sheffield United. Blades fans will be praying that Burnley drop points in this one, but I'm just not sure I see it. I think it probably is a decent time to be playing Watford. Score prediction, I'm going to go 2-0 Burnley on the road. After that, we go to the 5:30 kickoff on Friday. It's Sheffield United going up against Cardiff, a game with such huge implications at both ends of the table. Have Sheffield United fully lost their heads? Well, we're about to find out on Friday. 3 consecutive defeats. Who on earth saw that coming at this stage of the season? The 2-1 loss against Plymouth last time out. Scenes at full time with Wilder. It wasn't a great watch from a Sheffield United point of view. And how on earth do they react in this sort of match against Cardiff? Cardiff do have the opportunity to do something here, especially if they score first. I think they can make it so nervy in that Bramall Lane crowd. If Cardiff are the team to score first in this game, Sheffield United will start to get frustrated. We've seen that in recent weeks, but the big question is, do Cardiff actually have the quality to go and do that? It was such a damning loss for them last time out against Stoke. What I would say is, even if Cardiff do lose this game, it wouldn't be completely lights out for them in terms of their survival hopes. After this game, they've got back-to-back home matches against Oxford and West Brom. Both are winnable games. What Cardiff can't afford to do in this game, though, is concede early, because I think Sheffield United will just look to take the sting out of it as quickly as possible. I think Blades fans would absolutely settle for a 1-0 win right now. I think it's going to be nervy. I think it's going to be cagey, but I'm going to say Sheffield United are just going to get the job done. I sound like a broken record. I've been saying that with Sheffield United in recent weeks, and they keep going ahead and making me look like a fool with them losing. But I'm going to say they finally turn it around here, make it 2-1 on the day. which would set up an interesting game at Burnley on the Monday. And then to round things off, as the late kick-off on Friday, we've got Oxford going up against Leeds United. Now, it's an interesting one because Leeds could have that added pressure on them if both Burnley and Sheffield United have already won their games on Friday. In that scenario, Sheffield United would only be 2 points behind them, but I mean, Leeds with having such a superior goal difference to Sheffield United, that's probably worth an extra point in itself. But this game is definitely a bit of a potential banana skin for Leeds United. Obviously, they've done really well in their last 2 games, beating Preston and Middlesbrough, both by a 1-goal margin, but on reflection of both of those matches, they probably should have been a lot more comfortable for Leeds, given the chances they crafted out against Preston, the disallowed goals they had against Middlesbrough. But Oxford at home aren't to be taken lightly. They're just coming off the back of a massive result themselves against Sheffield Wednesday. Definitely aren't completely over the line in terms of getting to safety, but they're on 48 points right now. You'd think one win from their last 4 games would probably get them to that threshold of safety. And I don't know, I feel like maybe there could be something in this one for Oxford. I do look at Leeds' 4 remaining fixtures, and I think this is maybe the biggest banana skin. I think after this they've got back-to-back home matches against Stoke and Bristol City. By no means are they guarantees or anything like that, but with Leeds being the home side, I probably would fancy them to win both those matches. And then on the last day of the season they play Plymouth away, and there is a reasonable chance that by that point Plymouth have already been relegated. So with an Oxford side under Gary Rowett that will be bang up for this one, I see them at least getting a goal. Really just a question of how clinical Leeds can be, because like I say, against North End they did craft out some really good opportunities and they should have won by more than the 1 goal that they did. Score prediction for me in this one though, I'll add a bit of spice to the final few weeks of the season. I'll say this one ends as a 1-1 draw. Could make things tasty going into the last 3 matches. But there you guys have it. That will now wrap it up for today's video. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you did go on to enjoy, make sure to leave a like and make sure to drop your championship score predictions in the comments down below. Other than that though guys, thank you very much for tuning in and I'll see you all in the next one.